Another very special episode coming up today. But firstly, welcome, Xavier.
Thank you. And it's a pleasure to be here again. It's awesome.
I'm very, very excited now. We've got another special interview today.
Yes.
Tell the audience about our guest.
Yeah, so we have a special guest today. I've been working with him for a long time. Pete from CJ Homes. He's sales manager. And I've known Pete probably about 10 years. But I've been working with CJ Homes for a much longer time. Yuri, the owner, has been a friend and referrer of mine for a long time. So it's quite exciting because CJ Homes is impeccable. I know it's been scary in the market lately, builders going bust, and should we build or should we avoid that caper? If you build with CJ Homes, there's no problems.
Well, we're going to hear a little bit about your relationship with them. What else can we expect in the interview?
We're going to debunk a few myths about, what does it take to build a house? What's a construction loan? What do we see on the market? What are the trends and not from our side of things, but from builders' angle.
Sounds good. Well, should we get into it?
Let's get into it.
Let's go. All right, guys, it's time to welcome a very special guest to the Listen Loan Let's Go podcast. Peter Hollows, sales manager for CJ Homes. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Welcome, Pete.
Thank you for having me on.
It's good to have you. We've been working together for a long time now.
Yes.
How long has it been?
I've been with CJ Homes for about 7 years, and I know you're old friends with Yuri.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, the owner and the director of CJ Homes. And he introduced us when I first started, and he said, Xavier will look after you, and you have, send all my clients to you.
Yes.
It's been great. It's been a great working relationship.
So, and how old is CJ Homes then?
This year is our 20th anniversary.
20th anniversary.
So 20 years and going strong.
So I think that's how long Go Mortgage and CJ Homes have been working together then.
Yeah, correct.
Although Go Mortgage is only 18 years old, so I was working with Yuri before we formed the business.
Okay.
So yeah, it's going down a long way.
Yep.
Now, elephant in the room, Pete, we have to. It's been COVID. Builders have died and bankrupted themselves. How are you guys going?
Yeah, we're good. We're strong. COVID was interesting. It was like someone flicked a switch and I was ready to go home and watch Netflix for 6 months. And then away we went.
Yeah.
The builder's grant, all those expat Australians coming back to Australia.
Yep.
And they all needed homes, they all needed cars. And it just took off. I think, look, what we did, Yuri's he's a clever man, and we stopped selling for 6 months. So the boom happened and we were into it and we were doing our sales and building, and then everything started to get harder and harder. There's shortages and hard to get trades and stuff like that. So we stopped selling for 6 months, and that was a really smart move. We got through it pretty quick.
Yep. So you didn't get caught in contracts that were now underpriced.
Correct.
Where you made a loss, right?
Correct.
And we've been working together the whole time. There's never been a sniff of problems. I've spoke to Yuri a few times during that time, and it was always strong. So that's awesome to see. So
And look, it was a tough time. It was tough for everyone, But we did the right thing and got through it pretty quick. And now we've come out the other side, and our construction times are good, and we're actually looking for more builds.
Yeah, so stronger than ever.
Stronger than ever. Yeah.
That's perfect. Now, COVID also did something very interesting to you. You got busy. You made a bit of money, and what did we manage to do then?
Yeah, I managed to buy my own house and get back into the market. And talk about timing. If I didn't get in, I'd have no chance.
That's right.
And 60 years of age at the time, and looking at a 25-year loan, And I approached you, and I know it was hard work. I know it wasn't an easy,
That's it, in the miracle category. Or?
In the miracle category, and you came through, and I'm just so happy that I got in when I did, and things just fell into place for me. And scored a great block. We've got these rural views. Where I am now, like as soon as I got in there, I had all this equity. You refinanced for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it was a low doc.
That's right. So it was a tough gig to get you through, and we had to journey your loan. So we end up building with a not so nice interest rate or bank.
Yeah, that's
well,
right.
a nice bank because they give us the loan, but the interest rate was less nice.
Yeah.
Which was a temporary measure, which we knew about, And on the back of that, when the house got finished, we managed to then refinance again
Correct.
to conventional rates.
Yeah, and I think we dropped it by 1% or 2. Yeah, but you got to do what you got to do, and those high interest rates. I mean, looking back now, they were actually okay, and we got through it, and we're in our home, and now we've got all this equity, and properties around us are like $1 million, and this is in Griffin, you know.
So what difference is it going to make to the rest of your life, having been able to buy that house?
I mean, I'd still be renting, and I'd still be struggling.
That's awesome.
And you'd like to get into the market now, it's like $1 million, you know, to be anywhere close to the CBD, you know. I mean, Griffin's not close, but it's a great spot.
It's a
worked
great
out
spot.
really
It's developing a
well.
lot.
Yeah, and it worked out really well. We love where we are, and having a new home is, you know, it's awesome.
So happy wife, happy life now, huh?
Correct.
But it's interesting that you mentioned that we talk about how high the rate was when we got your construction loan.
Yeah,
And yet I think it was lower than what the current rates are.
correct.
So in the market at the time, it felt high, and
Yes.
really it wasn't in
Yeah.
perspective. So I love that you say you have to do what you have to do, and we're certainly up for it. So
Yeah, and we're in there now, and I mean, just as soon as we got in, we had all that equity, and then it was just I think you put us onto the Commonwealth Bank, and it dropped by 1% or 2, and it's just been very smooth.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome. I'm so happy that you know, and I tell my staff all the time, we are people too. We need houses too. We need what we offer as well. So it's always very close to my heart to be able to help, whether it was our own staff, you know, people we work with closely like yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's always a great story.
Yeah, and thank you.
No.
once again.
Thank you for trusting us with it, and all your clients, by the way. So,
Yeah.
you know, we walk the walk. We don't just talk the talk, and,
Yep.
and this is what it's about. Now, tell me, Pete, in this market, what are you seeing?
In this current market, the biggest problem is finding available land. You know, the estate that I'm working at the moment, the land's not ready till June next year, and it's nearly all sold. You know, so, and it's also about price as well.
So, if you have trouble finding land,
Yep.
how would I go as a punter on the general market finding land compared to what you can do?
Sure. If you came to me, I know all the land developers in my area. I know who to call. I know because sometimes there's blocks there, and this is happening all the time. A block is ready to settle, and it's been 12 months, sometimes 18 months. And the people's situation has changed. Maybe the interest rates are hurting them now, or they could have changed jobs. They can't complete. So if you know these land developers, it's like, yeah, this block's about to come back on.
Yeah.
So, and that's my job, not only as a builder, but to help people, you know, acquire land as well. And I suppose I've been doing this for 10 years, so you know who to talk to, you know
course,
where the
yeah.
land is, and I'm always monitoring it.
So we might have to add a title to your business card, which is land buyer's agent, right? Nearly.
Yeah, nearly,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, look, and you just want to help people, especially right now in this current market. I get it. It's hard. It's hard for people, and it's so expensive now.
So if land's hard to find,
Yeah.
then what type of builds are you seeing the most? Is there different trends happening there?
Yeah, for sure. You know, you go back a couple of years ago, there was a lot of first home buyers in the market, and now it's gotten very hard for them, you know, because of the interest rates, and the price of land and the price of building has gone up substantially. But it's kind of what's interesting too, I saw a trend where it was cheaper to buy existing, and then very quickly it changed.
Yeah.
And now it's like building is a great option because you know, people are going to an open home. There's 30 other people.
Correct.
They put in an offer, and no one even gets back to them. It might have been on the market for offers over 750, and it goes for 1.1 mil. You know, and yeah, so buildings are definitely an option.
And
again.
especially like for first home buyers, if they can find at the right price,
Yes.
there's plenty of incentives out there. We still have the first home owners grant. the first home buyer scheme, the
Yep.
stamp duty concessions.
Correct.
And I think we did an exercise a few months back, and if you were, the problem is the prices, I get it, but if you were to buy for, I think it was 500, you don't
Yep.
need a deposit. If you were to buy for
Okay.
700,000, you only need a small deposit, like 10,000
Okay.
or so. So if you can bunch up all the incentives and find the right deal. Now, so that's for first home buyers. But did you say not every first home buyer has either the borrowing capacity or access to properties at the right price? So what happens then?
Okay, there's a few options. One is the parents have got a lot of equity now.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they've owned a property at Kedron and now it's worth close to 1.5 mil, 2 mil. So they can help out.
Yeah.
I suppose it'd be like guarantor or something like
The
that.
bank of mum and dad still
Yeah, the
alive?
bank
Yeah.
of mum and dad. And we're seeing a big trend with multi-generation builds.
Okay.
So they're kind of pulling all their money together and you build a home and it's got that wet bar or it's like a granny flat, you know. So there's that third area where there's a living area, there's a bathroom, a little cooker and stuff like that. So that seems to be working out well. And the parents don't want to go to a nursing home, so they're quite happy to move in with the kids.
Yeah.
And still be part of that family, that family unit.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great idea.
It's interesting that these are the trends you see, and we have spoken about that on and off in other podcasts, Dan, is we see those too. So
Yep.
families getting together to either invest or live or put a grain flat on the back of the house.
Yep.
It's more and more prevalent than it's ever been.
Yeah, we just had a sales meeting the other day, and the whole, looking at granny flats is a very good option. It's the elderly parents are more independent. It gives everyone a bit of space and stuff like that. And I can imagine it would like the equity in that in the build and owning that property, and maybe later on a passive income.
Yeah, and it's also very, very cheap comparatively. Like,
Correct.
Building a granny flat compared to buying land and building a house on it.
Yeah.
It's a fraction of the price, right?
Yeah,
So
and I suppose you just got to look, if you can do it at the same time as a build, it would be very economical.
Yeah.
Later on, you've got to look at access and stuff like that as well. So all those things come into play.
Of course.
But yeah.
And so
definitely.
if someone had the idea to do that, then they can come and talk to you about
Definitely.
all these bits of details,
Yeah.
or whether that can work, right?
Yeah.
Now, with land being scarce, new land not coming on the market, you mentioned to me about another trend that's happening in existing suburbs. Yeah.
Yep.
Do you want to talk to us about that?
As in knockdown rebuilds?
Knockdown rebuilds, yeah.
Yeah. So once again, you've owned a property around Kedron or somewhere like that near the city, and now it's worth $2 million. And that's something I wanted to ask you about because like the equity side of it. So all of a sudden, I've been in this home for 30 years. I might have paid $300,000 or $400,000 for it 20 years ago, and now it's worth close to $2 million. But how do I go about that? And I'm seeing a big trend. Probably in my last half a dozen sales, 5 of those have been knockdown rebuilds. Yeah.
My answer to that is usually, as Dan loves it, is just Google it, best mortgage broker Gold Coast. But no, we can certainly help with that. There's plenty of it going on, especially on the back of COVID, where the equities come up. There are ways to release the equity and use that either as cash to buy a granny flat or as a deposit to then loan against a granny flat.
Yeah.
The banks haven't fully caught up on granny flat policies.
Okay.
And so banks still like conventional contracts. Well, I'll ask you about that in a second. I'm sure the answers you'll give me are exactly why the banks want to do that. The problem with granny flats is that if they're built off-site, it's harder to finance. Right?
Okay.
And so it's really a case-by-case situation. How much equity do we have to play with how we can borrow against it, or do we need to use the granny flat as security? But we can cover all that. That's certainly not a problem because it is a growing trend. We're seeing more and more investors, parents or kids putting granny flat in the backyard for various reasons. So
Sure.
now, I mentioned before, banks are being a little bit hard-ass on the granny flat story. It comes down to fixed price contract. So basically, a bank doesn't want to pay a builder until the job's done. Is that correct?
Correct.
And they want to know how much exactly it's going to cost until it's finished, right? So that's called fixed price contracts.
Correct.
Right. Can you explain to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so with CJ Homes, we present a fixed price contract to the client, and if I was going to build, that's what I would want. So a lot of builders, they take that deposit, but they haven't even discussed site costs. There could be a bushfire zone in the area, there could be an acoustic zone in the area. We look at all those things, and when the time comes and we present a fixed price contract, all those things are taken care of. We provide a H-class slab, so not everyone would know what that means, but it's a highly reactive soil and it's very common in Brisbane. So, with a lot of builders, they start off with an S-class slab and then you find out you've got a H, and then all of a sudden you've got to come up with that extra money. We do a H-class slab as standard. That pretty much covers it. In 10 years of doing this job, I've only ever seen 3 E-class slabs, and we knew they were going to be in that area. You just kind of know by building different homes.
So you're making sure that there's not a nasty dollar surprise.
Correct.
Or that the house doesn't walk away from the block 5 years later. Yeah.
Correct, yeah. And look, when I sit down with someone and talk about their build, the budget is the first thing we've got to discuss. And, a producer custom design, but they can't afford it. That's no fun for anyone. So meeting the budget, meeting their requirements, and look, everyone wants to upgrade, and maybe it's ducted aircon or something like that, and they've got to have it. Okay, well, let's put that into the budget. That'll determine the size of the home. And, the first thing we've got to do, though, is look at all the characteristics of the block and make sure we've got all those so there's no nasty surprises, especially with knockdown rebuilds. You've got to do your research.
Yeah.
That's how the process starts with a knockdown rebuild. Do the research on the block, and then you can determine that budget, and everyone's happy, everyone's comfortable.
Yeah, because obviously there's a bank in the middle of a knockdown rebuild who's thinking at one point in time there's not going to be a house there at all.
Yeah, correct.
So where do we stand? Right.
Yeah.
So and we've been working on those and the budget, and can we stretch it 20,000? Can we put this in or not? Can we put it now or later? So we're always in chats with that, which helps the clients greatly.
Definitely.
What I like about a fixed price contract is that. And this is what the banks like as well, is that we know how much we're going to spend. We can budget and finance that exact amount.
Yep.
And the next thing would be the house is done exactly how we were thinking about it, without nasty surprises. Right?
Correct. And I've been with this company for over 7 years now, and in that whole time, it's just been very smooth and just been straight up for people. We do the right thing, and that's what's important, is that people's expectations are being met, and that budget, there's no hidden or nasty surprises, no extra costs. And and I reckon that it makes us different to a lot of other builders, in that our fixed price is a fixed price. There's no provisional sums. There's where a lot of people get caught out. They don't realise they go through a display home, and the word assume. They assume they're going to get all these things, and then they find out later on down the track, and it's like, okay, we thought we were getting LED lights. We thought we were getting all these things. Oh no, actually you're only getting 1 light bulb per batten holder.
Yeah.
Okay, there's an allowance, and that's going to fall short. So, we produce an electrical layout before contract, not after. And, if you want to add some extra lights in, stuff like that, it's all very reasonable. And you put that into your budgets. So when we're building the home, you've actually thought through the whole process, and and that's how it's going to be. Yeah, and that's what I would want.
Honestly, you're right. Like when I'm trying to think about it, so we never got a contract from you guys where at the last minute, we need another 10 or 20 to finish. Otherwise, we're in trouble. We got plenty of those in COVID, by the way.
Yeah.
And it was a tough conversation. Some people could borrow the Express, some couldn't. But we never got that from you, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I want to cover something else for our listeners, and we're always happy to recommend CJ Homes. But what type of homes do you build?
Anything like we build.
It was a tough question because there's multi answers to that.
I've seen like Yuri Hope. He's the owner of the company. He's a very capable builder, and I've seen some of our jobs a triple story on the side of a hill. Everything from a single garage, a 300 square metre block, up to 2-story homes. I'm doing one at Bunya at the moment, and it's going to be a beautiful home. It's like triple level. It's over $1 million build, and
So basically, you can do either first home buyer or kind of investment grade, all the way to luxury, custom design. I know you build on acreages as well.
Yeah, correct. So and because we're a custom builder, we can meet the criteria, for any type of build. It really comes down to that budget and the people's requirements, and and then we can meet those requirements, meet that budget, and it's all good. But being a custom builder too, I think that not all builders are custom builders, and I've seen like slopey blocks, split level builds with a fixed price on the site costs, and I've seen unusual blocks that can sit on the market for over 12 months, even in this market. And we'll do a design, and we'll go right up to the setbacks and create a design that's maximising that block. And if we have to, cancel relaxation, but with confidence that we know we've done something like that before, and we'll get through. And so you're maximising that block, and it's like coming up with a solution and an option for the people to build on a block that is very unusual, but you can do something really clever.
And that's good, because in a market where land's hard to find, if you can build on the hard blocks of land that are left over, then
it's funny. All these unusual blocks are all coming up now because they've been sitting there for a long time.
That's right. They're the only ones
and these slopey blocks and things like that. It's just another option too. Especially if you want to, I get it. If you want to stay in the CBD, or around that area, maybe a split infill block that's only 10 metres wide or even 9 metres wide.
So there's nothing too hard for CJ Homes to have a look at. Excellent. Now, I want to ask you a last question, which is about our working relationship. I think that people don't always realise how much is involved during the construction process, and how many parties are involved. So there's obviously the banks, the builder, us, there's councils, there's all sorts of things. What would you say is the advantage of someone who wants to build a house using a broker kind of like us versus, say, going to a bank? What do they get?
Okay, so obviously going to a broker, there's a lot more options available. And sometimes the banks, they can be strict, and what's the word I'm looking for? They don't have as many options. They're not as flexible. Yeah. Yep. I mean, like in my case, I couldn't get a loan at one stage, and so they came up with an option. Yeah, and that was So it got me across the line. So if I had just gone to a bank, it's my belief that they probably wouldn't have even spoken.
Well, it would have been hard for you to find that solution on your own.
Correct. Yeah.
I'm not to say you couldn't find it, but it would have been tricky. And then we get past the approval, we buy the land, we in the construction phase. Obviously, our service doesn't end there. What's the value of that service we offer?
Okay, so and talking about my own case, where I've achieved my loan, and now it's going to be progress payments and things like that. So Leona, I think it was.
Correct.
Yeah. So look, I'm flat out doing my job and everything like that. So she kept in contact with me the whole time. I pretty much just did what she told me to do. If I had any questions, I'd get in contact with her and she'd just give me an immediate response, which was great. And it was all very quick. And I didn't have to, seriously, I didn't have to give it much thought.
Because there's a lot of logistics going on
Correct.
there, liaising between insurances and banks and builders and, money and progress valuations, which I guess you don't build every day as a processor. How would you know what to do and when to do it? Yeah,
well, I think that's the beauty of going with someone like yourself, with a company like yourself, and all the support and everything was there. I didn't, seriously, I didn't have to give it much thought. I just, all these things are going on, and I'd get an email from Leona and it'd be like, you need to do this, or can you get this? And I would just do it. It would get done, and it was very smooth sailing.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy.
That's what we like. So
that's what we want.
Good plug for Leona. Good job, Leona. That's awesome to hear, because that's what we're trying to do, faster experience, and as easy as can be, we'll do the stressing behind the scene. So
and I mean, I'm not a finance person. I know about the building side of things, and I know how it works, but if you ask me how does it work and go into detail, I don't know,
Exactly.
So, good job.
Excellent, perfect. Well, I was still stoked that we were able to get you into your own home and live happily ever after.
Correct.
Cool, excellent. Well, thanks heaps, Peter. If there was last thoughts on building CJ Homes and Go Mortgage, what would it be?
Yeah, look, we cover the whole of Brisbane. Come in and see me. I'm at Upper Kedron. We've got a sales team on the south side of Brisbane as well, and we build up in Rockhampton. So on the south side, they build Toowoomba to Coomera, all the way to the city. So we've got Charlene and Adam out there, and we've got Steve up in Rockhampton. I'm in Upper Kedron. Come in and see me, and even if you're just starting out, I'm more than happy to give you advice and discuss what you need and introduce you to Xavier. Talk about, because I get it all the time. People come in and they're just starting out, so I like to sit them down and just educate them, and explain the whole build process, what they need to do. And look, if you don't have your finance in place, I explain this to them. Really, a lot of the land agents and stuff, people like that aren't going to take you seriously.
What's the first question they ask?
Yeah, have you got finance?
Pre-approval?
Yeah, correct. And also too, you can go, okay, we want to be in Kedron and we want to build this home, but hang on, your budget's only $700,000 or $800,000. So we just save a lot of time by determining, where they want to be. I get it, where people want to be. It's very important, but if their budget can't meet it, it's not going to be an option. So let's talk about all that. And that's the thing, come in, sit down and discuss what your goal is. And I'll do my best to help you achieve it, but let's be realistic about it. Yeah.
Cool, excellent. And this is why at Go Mortgage we recommend CJ Homes, because we know that our clients are not going to end up in financial difficulty because of where you're at. We know they're going to have the guidance and experience that they need behind the scenes, which we don't see at every other builder. So
thank you.
Definitely recommend CJ Homes.
Where do we find you, Pete? Online? How do we find CJ Homes?
CJ Homes, so we've got a website. Obviously, just type in CJ Homes. I'm at Upper Kedron in the Ellendale Estate. I'll be there to the end of the year, and then I'll be out at Kinmar Valley.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's a display home as well, so people can come and have a look.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And it's all going to be happening out there in the next, next couple of years and onwards. It's going to be a huge corridor, So all good.
Excellent.
I highly recommend that. And we appreciate your time, Pete. Thank you so much for joining us on the Listen Loan Let's Go podcast. Yeah. Great to hear about CJ Homes, a bit about you and your relationship, guys. It's fascinating and great to hear. It's a good, strong, healthy working relationship.
Yeah, no, it's been great for
Yeah.
a long time. It's worked very well.
Yeah, cool.
I don't know how many we've financed from CG Homes, but it'd have to be easily more than 50 contracts,
easy.
and we have never had an issue. So
Yeah, and
Yeah, good.
you get all the hard ones. First year was a tough one. It's like, this guy, if he can't do it, no one can.
There you go.
So you do get my hard ones, but yeah, and thank you for having me on. Yeah, fantastic.
No problems. And we'll put CG Homes details at the bottom of this video, so that if anyone wants to have a look at building, they can contact you direct.
Fantastic. All right, thank you.
Awesome. Well, there we have it. Another fantastic interview with Pete Hollows from CJ Homes. How did you enjoy that, Xavier?
Yeah, it was great, and I hope with that we've unpacked enough listeners, but certainly the building industry is alive.
Yes.
We've heard from Pete that it's maybe even cheaper sometimes to build than to buy existing, so it looks like the tables are turning on that on that side of the market, which is really exciting. So if you want to build or need a construction loan, then
He's the man.
reach out.
Well, if you're new to this show and you just heard that interview, there's been some great interviews we've had from a wide range of industries so far. So we encourage you to go back, have a listen, have a look, subscribe while you're there. But Xavier, of course, we always have to sign off. How do we find you?
Just Google it. Best mortgage broker Gold Coast.
That's all you have to do. We'll see you next month.
See you next month.